Hi everybody, my name is Arangel and I'm going to be focusing on Gideon versus Wainwright. So decided in 1963, this case forever changed the criminal justice system by guaranteeing the right to an attorney for people who cannot afford one. Today, we're going to look at Clarence Gideon's story, the constitutional issue at stake, the Supreme Court's reasoning, as well as the ongoing impact this case has on civil rights and due process in the United States. To start off, we're going to look at the background of the case. It all began when Clarence Earl Gideon from Florida was arrested and charged with felony breaking and entering. He requested a court-appointed attorney but was denied by the trial court, telling him that Florida only provided attorneys in capital cases. Gideon was later forced to represent himself in a felony trial. He had no legal training, struggled to answer questions, and didn't understand courtroom procedure. He was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison, but that did not stop him when he wrote a handwritten petition to the United States Supreme Court, arguing that the Constitution guaranteed him a lawyer. All of this was the beginning to a major civil liberties transformation. So next we're going to be looking at the constitutional issue. The constitutional question in this case centered on the Sixth Amendment, which states that all criminal defendants have the right to the assistance of counsel. The key issue was whether this right applied to the states through the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. At the time, an earlier case called Betts v. Brady had ruled that states only needed to appoint counsel in special circumstances. This meant that poor people in many states faced serious charges while having to defend themselves alone. Gideon challenged this idea. He argued that the right to counsel is fundamental and necessary for a fair trial. Without a lawyer, the scales of justices are unbalanced, and the constitutional promise of due process becomes impossible to fulfill. This case became a major example of selective incorporation, the process of applying Bill of Rights protections to the states. So next we're going to discuss what happened when Gideon filed to the Supreme Court. In 1963, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous 9-0 decision in Gideon's favor. Justice Hugo Black wrote the majority opinion, stating that the right to counsel is essential to a fair trial and fundamental to our justice system. This meant that the court overturned Betts v. Brady and held that states are required to provide attorneys to defendants in all felony cases, not just special circumstance ones. The ruling made clear that every person, regardless of their income, deserves a fair chance when their liberty is at stake. So after the decision, Gideon was given a new trial, this time with a court-appointed attorney. With proper legal representation, he was acquitted. This case became a system of justice done right. So to conclude on Gideon versus Wainwright, we're now going to look at the impact and legacy it had moving forward. It led to the creation and expansion of public defender systems across the United States. It drastically increased legal protection for low-income individuals and made the criminal justice system more equal in theory. But challenges still remained after the ruling. Many public defender offices today are underfunded and overwhelmed with a lot of caseloads, making it difficult to provide the full level of representation that Gideon envisioned. Still, the legacy of his case is profound, and it stands as a cornerstone of civil liberties. It reminds us that fairness in the justice system depends on meaningful access to counsel. Gideon's handwritten petition reshaped American law and ensured that the right to an attorney applies to everyone, not just those who can afford one. So to conclude, we're just going to take a look at our resources. And yeah, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for listening. Bye.